He who gives his liberty for temporal security deserves neither liberty nor security. Liberty depends on the power of the man.
In times like these, we know must be larger. In times like these, we know give reason to scatter. But to be strong, all we need no unity. Everybody make we put our heads together. For this our land, we dey work so people dey chop. For this our land, anything we get, we carry the go. For this our land, we dey work so people dey chop. For this our land, anything we get, we carry the go.
My identity, now my identity, wey show impurity for my society. Majority or minority, equality, yet for be our diversity. Them one show market ability, them say everything remain in nationality. What a pity for things we get magic city, where equality never be necessity. Yes, I think skin color makes slavery activate for my country, language don't make them aggravate. Now poverty don't the accelerate, so they which level where people don't be tolerate. For country, fufu every day, people house border, work no day, everything need to go now that way. We feel like one logo way.
This our land, this our land. What we go do? What we go do? This our country, this our country. This our land, we dey work so people dey chop. For this our land, anything we get, we carry the go. For this our land, we dey work so people dey chop. For this our land, anything we get, we carry the go.
This land, our land, we know the let go. From India to Dublin, we hustle and we get. Matters Mamongo, the thief and run. Balundu, Bakulu, Balong, Bakwere. We go stand strong for this land, our land. This now we know crime, victim of circumstance. Now if you want name, let that name for stop us. We know be Namuku for this very same land. Kingongumba, minimum we move. Make we stand firm, even when they scatter us. They depend on us to stop their hunger. But them all lost beggars, who lost figures. They shoot us with chest, but other one are just cause victory is our vision and freedom our mission. Anyhow it is, the struggle continues. We will crush you to dust cause this land our land, our land.
This our land, this our land. What we go do? What we go do? This our country, this our country. This our land, we dey work so people dey chop. For this our land, anything we get, we carry the go. This our land, we dey work so people dey chop. For this our land, anything we get, we carry the go.
Cameroun, land of opportunities. That was what I used to hear when I was growing like a kid. And like a kid, but now I don't know which to believe, whether an opportunity or a disability. I don't know. All they say, if there was equality, all of us for accept that we live in unity. So they go to the people of galloping. When you ask us and I say we are still developing. Oh boy, that one I talk for Aleppo. Everything that change.
Good afternoon, my fellow Ambazonians. I'm glad to be here today with many of our compatriots. I have tried a couple of times to speak to you directly, but due to some issues which I cannot understand, I couldn't reach out to you people. I have decided to come on live at this hour, hoping to catch most of you online who are following the discussions in our homeland. We are experiencing a scenario in our country today that is not unprecedented. At this moment, we all understand the teachers are having discussions with Yaoundé. I am not quite sure what the discussions are meant to achieve, but it seems against all reason. The teachers have decided to ignore the voices of our people. The lawyers have decided to ignore the voices of our people. The aspirations of a vast majority of our people is to have a free homeland to call their own, to have a country where their norms, customs, and tradition can be practiced without undue interference, to have a country where they can dream, they can live in peace, and they can decide what to do and not what to do. I'd like to take you down memory lane. More than 55 years ago, the vast majority of our people wanted independence. Against all odds, the United Nations and the United Kingdom decided they were going to tie us either to Nigeria or to Cameroon. I don't think our leaders then fought enough. I don't think they stood enough to challenge the illegality that was being hatched by the United Nations. So while Foncha battled for Cameroon, Endele battled for Nigeria. The general masses of our people who wanted a free homeland were ignored. And a group of people said we should give them a chance. Just give them a chance. Maybe the federation is going to work. Nobody understood then, as we know now, that Francophone states do not federate. Francophone states are designed and constructed to dominate because they represent more than just a static ideal. They represent a geopolitical reality for France. Fast forward, 1990, we allowed the SDF in the hands of a very few. While we were battered on the street, while we were thrown into jails, our limbs and arms were amputated, we allowed the SDF in the hands of the National Executive Committee. It thwarted every plan. The aspirations of most people who belong to the SDF was to ensure that they defended the victory they had on the 11th of October 1992. The leadership had no idea how to defend that victory. I slept out of the house of Mr. John Frundi. I was there for weeks, making sure he was not evacuated to Yaoundé. Thousands of our people were on the street from Victoria to Bamenda. We cut down trees to block roads to ensure that Biya could not take Mr. Frundi to Yaoundé. But the elites in whose hands we allowed our future didn't know exactly what to do with it. So they capitulated. And they thought discussions with Mr. Biya or going into parliament or taking over councils would change the political reality of Cameroon. It didn't. We all know in 1996, the SDF won vast majority of councils within Ambazonia. In urban councils, Mr. Biya imposed government delegates, so he could rule by executive fiat. In rural councils, the DOs and SDOs were in charge. The SDF leadership was unable to factor out how to overthrow a weak and ineffective regime. We still trusted them, allowed power into their hands, and not long, they've become bedmates with Mr. Biya. Fast forward into the reign of the SCNC. We were in Boya in 1993 for AAC1, where we cataloged all our grievances. The same grievances that the lawyers and teachers today are presenting to Yaoundé. We did the same in 1993. Yaoundé didn't listen. It turned in 1994 a large grand débat into a fax and phone campaign where it could build a 1996 constitution where Mr. Biya had all the powers as the chief executive, the chief judge, and the chief legislator. We didn't learn a lesson. We allowed Barrister Ekontang Elat, Simon Munzo, Molanjo Litumbe, John Gu Foncha, Solomon Tandeng Muna, Ambassador Henry Fossum. We allowed all of the elites to travel to the United States and New York to visit the United Nations. We received them at the Mongo Bridge. Overwhelming majority of our people in 1995 wanted independence. What the SCNC leadership had to do was simply to follow the prescription of the Bamenda Proclamation, which said, at the appropriate moment, the council will be enlarged, turn into the Constituent Assembly, and proclaim the independence of the state of Southern Cameroon. When they came back from the United Nations, they were gripped by fear. Ella capitulated. It is only when we decided to form the Southern Cameroon's Youth League that there was an alternative political structure that could represent the aspirations of our people. We moved from village to village, block by block, building the capacity to defend our homeland. So each time we have allowed our fate to be decided by a few people because they have privileged positions as lawyers or as teachers, we have been taken down the wrong path. Now we are experiencing the same saga. Despite the vast majority of our people wanting an independent homeland, despite the fact that we have written to the lawyers and to the teachers that there is no way you can trust a regime that didn't respect the federal constitution that it imposed in 1961. There is no way you can respect a regime that has never respected any treaty it has signed. Despite the fact that we've made it very clear to the lawyers and the teachers that despite the fact that Yaoundé gave in to the creation of the University of Buea, they have francophonized the university again. Despite the fact that they created the GCE board through pressure from the street, they have taken it over again. How then do you trust such a regime? How then do you trust that when you reach an agreement with such a regime, it is going to respect it? Take note, even before the lawyers and the teachers entered into negotiations, they had no precondition. It is only when our people on the street, decided that you cannot talk with this regime without preconditions, that they put in precondition for the release of our captured men and women. And as they enter into these negotiations, Ngalim Felix is still detained. Many of our people are being kidnapped from neighborhoods and taken to distant places that we don't know. And at the same time, we are sitting with the murderers of our people in our own town, trying to mortgage our future in some federalist aspirations which has proven itself time and again to be irrelevant. How naive can the lawyers and teachers be? The vast majority of our people want independence. The vast majority of our people want a free homeland of their own. They don't want to federate with francophones. And as I said last time, shouldn't it be Cameroon begging us for a federation? I mean, a country it annexed, exploited, and treated its people like slaves should not be begging its oppressor to share our own country. I have told consortium, I have told the lawyers that John Good Foncha, before he died, had a regret. And we somehow forgave him because we thought in the 50s and 60s, they were not highly educated. They didn't understand the dynamics of international politics, the intricacies of treaties, how they are crafted, formulated, and caused to be implemented. But we will not forgive anybody at this moment, at a moment when we are winning on the street, at a moment when we have pushed the regime to the wall, that we decide to capitulate. We will not forgive anybody who takes Ambazonia down this road. My fellow citizens, I understand the moment, but this is what I want you to know. When Nelson Mandela and his friends fought against the apartheid regime in South Africa, they had easier options. They could simply just accommodate the racist regime. But they said no. They knew the path to racial equality in South Africa was going to be a difficult one. But they invested in that path. And today they have a free South Africa. Though you still have economic inequality. But South Africa today is a different country than it was some 50 years ago. The path to independence might be difficult. But that is the sure path that is going to lead us to freedom. That is the sure path that is going to give us something we have never had. A country of our own. A place to call home. A place where we can live in peace. A place where we can decide what to do with it. Succeed and fail as a people. Taking our responsibilities when we win and when we fail. It is only in an independent Ambazonia that our people will be able to demonstrate their capabilities, be an asset to themselves and their homeland rather than a liability. And no one, not the teachers, not the lawyers, have been given the mandate to negotiate on behalf of Ambazonia. I know the teachers and the lawyers called a strike, but I have been long enough in this struggle to know they didn't start this resistance. We went to jail for it. We are in exile for it. And let me remind you, in 1995, there were 100,000 people at the Bamenda Municipal Stadium to receive the delegation that came out from the United Nations. Just simply because we didn't have WhatsApp then. We didn't have Facebook then. Just simply because we couldn't stream that moment live. Doesn't mean we haven't fought before. People are still in jail for this struggle. And no one can claim it. Not even us. We are instruments for the liberation of our people. We are not the objective. And so, if these lawyers and teachers do not listen to the aspirations of the vast majority of Ambazonians, I am sorry, they are on their own. My fellow Ambazonians, we have a program for independence. Let me remind you that the unsung heroes of our struggle are not those who issue lengthy press releases. The brave patriots of our struggle are not those like myself probably who sit on Facebook and speak about it. They are the barefoot volunteers. Those who carry their coffins on the street for a homeland. Those who scream on our street that give us death or give us independence. They are the people who ran a Tanganji off our street at Commercial Avenue. They are the students of the University of Boya who stood in front of armed military men and shouted, "Don't shoot, don't shoot." Those are the unsung heroes of our struggle. Those are the people the historians who write about, who stood the test of time, have battle scars to show for. It is not those who sit in the comfort of their homes and issue press releases. It is not those who, despite the vast majority of our people wanting independence, they go in closet and they have discussions with a banality of evil from Yaoundé. It is not those who sit in distant places and ship down a couple of hundreds of dollars. We have the scars to show for. We are the only people who stood for our people, who have refused at every time in this struggle to have a quick fix that is going to crumble around the next corner. So you should trust in us. We might not be the most popular guys. We might not be the most astute, the most likable. But you can trust us. You can trust me that when I say I'm going to fight for independence, I'm not going to change my word. You can trust me that when I say I'm going to give my blood and my life for you, I'm going to do it because I have the scars to show for. So you can simply get up in the morning and you're running around a couple of men called teachers and lawyers because they've called a strike. I give them respect for this. I gratify them for this. But because we know history, because we know exactly how naive we have been in the past, how we took ourselves one step from independence to 10 steps to complete extinction, that you cannot negotiate with Yaoundé without an international arbiter that can ensure that the outcome of such negotiations will be guaranteed. The lawyers represent the legal tradition. The teachers represent our educational system. I, Cho Ayaba, I represent the aspirations of the Ambazonian people. If you would have a choice who to pick to lead you, you have the champion of your own liberation sitting right here. I've given you my word. We will have a free country, a country to call our own, a place to dwell in peace. We will succeed and fail as a people. And this struggle will not be won through discussions in the night. It will be won on the streets, block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood. That is why I'm asking you, wherever you are, build a neighborhood defense unit. Make sure you know everybody who lives in your neighborhood. Make sure you can control your neighborhood. The people of Manfe showed us how you can chase away a mayor. The people of Nguti have shown us how you can dig trenches to stop the evacuation of our resources without replication and development. The people of Mutengene have shown us how you can stop petrol tankers from exploiting our resources without constructing our roads. Independence is not a drive-by to a McDonald's and picking up a burger. To have independence is not sitting and hoping for it. It has a price to be paid. And if you are not prepared to pay that price, you are not prepared for independence. I want to assure our people that if others have walked down this road and gotten a free homeland of their own, we will use the same roadmap that they have used. Be reminded that Ambazonia is a country. It is not part of Cameroun. And so for any negotiations that we are going to have to be able to exit from Cameroun without war, it must be overseen by the United Nations, by a country of our choice that we are going to appoint to oversee such negotiations. I am not going to sit here and pretend to give you a roadmap for independence. I know some people have published on the internet a roadmap that takes us to Boya on the 1st of October 2017. I hope they've got the guts to make that happen. But at this moment, as I'm speaking to you, I have spoken to our people on the street. We have our people on the ground, making sure they can carve stencils to put free Ambazonia on every street, on every billboard. I signed a decree a couple of months ago when people told me that was laughable to stop timber from being exploited. Our people are up in arms to make sure you don't exploit our resources without replication in development. You must make sure on every street corner there is no green, red, yellow flag. That should be on your footstool. You have to bring down every occupier flag and hoist our own. That is how you claim your identity. Let me tell you something. There is something we have won. There is something we have already won. You know, mental liberation. We are mentally free now. You can't deceive an Ambazonian any longer. You can't cheat on us and get away with it. Mental liberation is the first step to physical liberation, and we have achieved it. Congratulations to you who made it happen. You showed us on the street of Ambazonia how you can achieve your freedom. My fellow people, freedom is sweet, but it is not cheap. We have one chance in our life to write the last chapter of this story. This story that began some 55 years ago, of a people who were the first country in Africa to organize a free and fair election, where the government lost and the opposition won. We showed Africa how you can organize a free and transparent election. We were one of the first countries in Africa that granted political asylum to Cameroonians who were running away from their own resistance against neocolonialism. They told us then that we were going to be a liability. They told us then that we were so poor that we were not going to support a free state. Fast forward, we are the bread basket that feeds Cameroon. We have a hydroelectricity power plant that can electrify West Africa. We are the engineers, the innovators. They told us we couldn't sing, so we listened to Makossa and danced to their rhythm. Just a few months into this uprising, we've got rappers, pop stars, all sorts of artists churning out good music. They told us we weren't good enough. We have shown them during this resistance how to treat others, even those who hate you, with care. We have not harmed Francophones. We've not harmed Cameroonians. That shows that we are a people who know how to coexist. A people that have lived under torment and torture for 55 years, but have not harmed their opponent. We walk out of Nigeria without firing a shot. That is why I am calling on Mr. Viva. You made a good speech in the Occupiers' Parliament. Walk out of it. Be brave enough, Mr. Viva, and all parliamentarians that are sitting in the colonial parliament. This is the time to emulate the examples of the 50s. Walk back straight to Boya and let's set up our own parliament and begin to govern ourselves from there. That is how brave you can do it. Long speeches and resolutions wouldn't solve this problem. Every parliamentarian sitting in Yaoundé should come home. Go home. That is where you belong. That is how you can show us that you can also sacrifice, like the students who aren't going to school, like the lawyers who aren't visiting their chambers, like the teachers who are out of their lecture halls. Parliamentarians walk out. Sacrifice must be equitable. You can't have your mouth in the parliament, your mouth in Ambazonia, and your stomach in the parliament of Cameroon. I want to tell our people, each time we have succeeded, like when Mancho BBC was arrested, it is you who stopped him being deported to Yaoundé. When the lawyers were kidnapped, it is you who stopped them being kept there for perpetuity. Even when Mr. Tassang and the others were talking with Yaoundé against our wishes, you stayed overnight to make sure they were safe. It is you, our people, who own this struggle. It is yours to win or it is yours to lose. It is not going to be in the hands of elites who do not represent your aspirations. Fellow Ambazonians, this is our time to write our own story. The last chapter of this story must be written by the people of Ambazonia. I call on everyone in the diaspora. I was in Belgium a couple of days ago. I'm indebted in gratitude for the reception I was granted. The Belgians, Ambazonians showed us how you can organize yourself. I'm calling on Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Australia, United States to install Ambazonian missions in these countries so we can begin to take care of ourselves. We can begin to govern ourselves, learn the practice of governance. We are the finest, the bravest, the sharpest. And we're going to build a homeland that every child, born or unborn, will be proud of. We are going to be the shining star in a continent that has no good stories to tell. From Ambazonia, the concept of Pan-Africanism will spread through all Africa, the harbinger of all customs and norms for the black people. We must fight for it. We cannot talk our way to freedom, not with an occupier that has no respect for us, an occupier that doesn't care about our dignity, that allows its own people, women, to die outside its own maternity ward, that shoots down its own people with impunity. It has no care for human values. Not with an occupier, with a more than 80-year-old senile dictator who can probably remember his last name. We're better off on our own. We don't want Cameroun. Leave our homeland. We want a free Ambazonia. Give it to us now, or we will take it by force. It will be neighborhood to neighborhood, my people. Make sure in each neighborhood there is no gendarme living there. Make sure in each neighborhood that you live, the occupier has no space. It's your country. Yours to take or to give. The choice is yours. I am here with the Governing Council of Ambazonia as the platform that represents the aspirations of our people to make sure we install a government in Boya that is going to be based on the will of the people. The Governing Council is made up of men who have battle scars to show, people who talk and walk the walk. It is made up of people who know how to achieve things, who've been in prison, have never surrendered. Women who are tough, who have a vision for our country. Give the Governing Council a chance. We will give you a free homeland, a place to call your own. God bless you all. God bless Ambazonia.